Hi, I'm Eileen, and this is a movement education video titled Causes of Back Pain When Turning Part 2. Hopefully you watched Part 1 because I talked about a very important part of the body that really needs to be functioning well so that you can turn without pain, especially back pain. I talked a lot about the spine, the curves in the spine, and how the lower back's job is really to bend forward and to bend backward. And everything above and below's job is to do all the turning, the rotating. So if you're having low back pain when you turn, it means there's a different part of the body that has a problem. It's not necessarily your back. Now, I did eliminate things like, if you've got a herniated disc or some serious structural issue, fractures, injuries, that kind of thing, that we're not talking about those things. We're talking about chronic back pain, and whenever you go to turn, ow, your back grabs. Well, guess what? It could be, read in part 1 or watch part 1 about here, if your hips are not rotating, and I taught you a movement to help to work on that. Now I'm going to talk about what's above the low back, which is the trunk. Your trunk goes from your neck to your lumbar spine. It comprised of your thoracic spine, which has 12 vertebrae. There's 7 in the neck, 5 in the lumbar, above and below. And you've also got all your ribs attached. You got 12 ribs, right? Now you have a couple of ribs that are kind of floating, but the majority of them attach in the back at the spine and in the front at the sternum. They kind of come up at an angle and attach at your sternum. The bottom of that sternum is the xiphoid process, by the way, and that, when you go to get CPR, if you get CPR, if you're unlucky enough to need CPR, but lucky enough if it saves your life, that xiphoid process is what can kind of get injured and lots of other stuff. I won't get off on a tangent, but my point is your thoracic spine is really designed to do lots of things. It's designed to flex forward and extend backward. It's designed to rotate really, really well and to side bend. Now, if you don't have that kind of motion in your thoracic spine, you could end up with low back pain. You could also end up with neck pain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a movement that potentially could help your low back from hurting from turning if the reason is your thoracic spine isn't rotating well. Now, obviously, if you just try to train the thoracic spine to turn, that might just trigger your back pain, right? Because if it's not turning, the back's trying to make up for it. So I want you to pay attention to a couple of little things here that I'm going to show you. So my hips right now are facing forward. If I turn my whole body, my hips and everything coming, then everything from here down is rotating. So the neck the low back more than likely won't get annoyed, neither will the neck, because it's not trying to turn a different way from the rest of the body, right? It might though. I don't know what's going on in your world. So what we want to do is we want to try to get your thoracic spine to move in rotation. And if it's not moving well in rotation, you might notice it moves really well in one direction, but not in the other direction. You might notice, I can turn really well to the right, but not so good to the left. Maybe you feel like you're hitting a wall. Maybe you've got some pain. So the goal is, let's see if we can restore both motions. Now, a lot of the times, especially when you're training your body in 3-plane function, if you move into the direction that it's good at, it'll kind of restore the motion that it's not good at. There's 3 planes of motion. There's forward and back, there's side to side, and there's turning. If your body's not so good at turning, but it is good going side to side, then training and repetitively moving side to side can potentially restore another plane it's not moving well in. So if you did some side to side workouts, right? I'll do, 10, 12, 15 reps side bending this way. I'll do 10 or 12, 15 reps side bending this way. You can even combine them. So I'm going to go one side, the other side, right? And if you've only got one side that doesn't hurt, just do the side that doesn't hurt. You won't create an imbalance. You'll help to kind of restore body function, okay? So try this. See if doing some side bending, it may not happen miraculously, but you may notice after the course of a couple of days that rotation starts to free up. You can also try some forward and backward. Now the goal here is not to bend at the hips and bend at the hips. The goal here is to get the upper spine to bend. So it's kind of like I'm sort of tucking my elbows into my belly. My goal is to get more of a kind of a hunchback in that upper spine. And then my shoulders, I'm thinking of lifting my ribs up toward the ceiling as my shoulders go back. We want to try to get that extension in the thoracic spine, not low back. We know the low back's good at flexing and extending, unless yours isn't, but that's what it's designed to do, right? And I've got ones, what happens when your back hurts bending forward. I'm also going to do one when you're bending backward, probably for the next video. So try getting your thoracic spine moving. If you can turn your thoracic spine without your back hurting, you could also train it that way too. So if you kind of keep your shoulders out of it and you just sort of rotate, right? That might be okay for your back if you're not trying to get everything. So you got to kind of experiment a little bit. Obviously, this isn't about, treating a specific person or a specific issue. I'm generally talking about how body motion is designed to work and what may help you if you have back pain when turning. More than likely it's the hips, so make sure you watch part 1. But if it's the trunk, you want to get it moving. So try some side bending, try some flexing forward, some extending back. See if you can loosen that up so that, lo and behold, it starts to turn. And especially if you can just do one, then just do that one side. That can loosen it up. And you might notice miraculously you can do the other side at some point in time, right? So hopefully that helps you. There's lots of other ways that you can train the thoracic spine. You can preset it in rotation and do side bending. There's all kinds of things you can do to mobilize the thoracic spine. But know that, the experts that I've loved to study under, one is commonly known to say that the thoracic spine can be called the silent saboteur because it doesn't complain, but its lack of function is what causes everything else to complain. Your low back, your shoulders, your neck. So the silent saboteur. Make sure your thoracic spine is working well. And if you don't know how to fully assess your whole body, check out the free level membership in my Move Without Pain private club. There's a beautiful video in there that teaches you how to assess your full body in 3-plane function. So even a form you can download and you can document your findings, and there's free movement class and education on there as well. All right? Okay. I'll see you next time.